Interlude. Since that day, Yashi and Dia have worked together, training to improve their lilaments, techniques, and knowledge. This led to them to enroll into Gerono Academy weeks later in Katniss Macadamia. Both of them had been homeschooled up until this point. Yashi's elder siblings didn't hesitate to finally let him be on his own, but Dia's parents needed a bit more persuasion. Nevertheless, Dia at 8 years of age and Yashi at 9 successfully joined the academy. After 3 years of attending Gerono and offset training, Yashi and Dia's lilament status had allowed them to join an Expisimists team, Ensign. Expisimists are contracted individuals whose sole purpose is to defeat Dicipients. Dicipients are magically bound individuals who follow the Demon King's authority willingly. One Dicipient is a problem, but a group of them could take out an entire city in hours. Ensign consists of strong, older leaders ranging to the late 40s. They had wanted to settle down and give lead to the new generations. At the start of this new career, Yashi and Dia did not actively participate in the most egregious battles, but they were allowed to help whenever they could. A year after joining Ensign, their lives had been devoted to each other and to serving the peace. As one of the youngest to date, the two were able to trance. This feat would allow each of them to gain stage and efficiency bonuses on the lilaments and even unlock some of their previously locked lilaments. Being the more combat-conducive person at the time, Dia chose to have the ability to undergo the form anytime she wanted. Their trance was hidden from Ensign, but they told their guardians. 2 years later, Ensign was called in on a dangerous mission alongside 3 more Expisimists groups. It was an urgent matter, and one that had a low-risk, high-reward outcome. The mission took place in Atlas Macadamia, an extremely mountainous area in Macadamia near neighboring Serra Dagona. The mission was to seek, capture, or kill 3 Dicipients that had fled into the area unannounced to the Macadamian public. Days had passed as the Expisimists settled in and got a few good leads onto where the Dicipients may be hiding. However, on their 4th day, at the time of dawn, the Expisimists were ambushed by nearly a dozen Dicipients at their most vulnerable. Outnumbering the Dicipients 3-1, the strongest Expisimists were able to hold their own against their opponents. The Dicipients started to withdraw as each party had lost almost half of their capable fighters. During this low conflict of scouting, the 3 initial Dicipients that they had been looking for appeared. The Expisimists had no choice but to fall back to conjure everyone together. However, the Dicipients managed to track them down before they were able to call backup. One by one, Yashi and Dia watched their allies fall in front of their eyes, starting with the second in command till all of those without their sustain to defend themselves. What started off as 48 Expisimists were now 25, and yet the Dicipients' ruthlessness had no viable end. Everyone's lives were being threatened with no one to save them. The Dicipients soon found the weaker fighters and a hidden shield behind the elders. Dia became highlighted as one of the highest potential in magic. She was given a choice to join them, become a Dicipient, but she refused and became more bratty as the minutes passed. The strongest Dicipient had enough of her antics and was going to kill her first from the little ones. This is when the hero of the 7th generation was born. Yashi had unlocked it. The first ever hero's dermal, his heart, his mind, his intentions, his future vision for a better world aligned with the deity above, and he was granted by force. A newfound power that the world thought was vanquished years ago. Although damaged, his transformation confused the Dicipients and allowed him to stand toe-to-toe with all of them alone. It was one of the most gruesome battles Yashi had ever had to deal with, albeit watching or participating. Each Dicipient was defeated by his hand, and everyone around was saved. Now possessing the dermal, Yashi preferred to stay undisclosed, meaning not letting the public know his original identity. This effect was a choice made between him and the dermal, giving him special feats alone, but also helps him maintain his life separately from the hero's life. Unfortunately, Breaking this inner contract would revoke these special feats and expose his identity to his enemies. This contract can be dealt around, such as Yashi's bond with Dia, his family, Enzen, and other special exceptions. Watching the mysterious warrior leave the field in haste, Dia was the first to know it was Yashi. Once home, he couldn't believe it himself. Yashi stood in front of a mirror, casting and disabling the Yoshido, the hero dermal, until his mind hit him with a rush. Dia joined in after, marveling at his accomplishment. They knew that they were on the right path. With each hero, there is a spawn, or in other words, someone who the hero can trust completely. Usually, they meet by circumstance or the seal that exists on the Yoshidodermal glows with a green when near. 4 months later, their fates finally collided. Yashi and Dia were assisting at a caving site that was undergoing exploration in North Macadamia. It was being contested by Dicipients. An alchemist, Emuna, was also in the field. Alchemy is a collective art, science, and life, for whom one would originally call a doctor, biologist, or scientist, is given the title alchemist. Emuna's subject focused on the nature of magic and its capabilities. Yashi had been noticing his seal's appearance and the green glow when in Emuna's presence. After taking control over it, Yashi confirmed this before he confronted Emuna with Dia. Of course, Emuna was taken aback by this idea. She would have never thought that her own life would eventually help the most influential and prosperous person rid Adasia of evil. It was now her obligation to help Yashi and his equivalent Dia with anything she could. Emuna's wisdom and her own allurements caused the two growing souls to leave Enzen after introducing them to each other. With no backstrings attached, they still visited Enzen from time to time, including Emuna. 4 years subsequently, their magic had broken bounds. Only the top percentile of Dicipients could handle their ferociousness. Although skittish, Yashi believed it was finally time to attack the head of the Dark Army, also known as Dephoria, the Demon King himself, Lark Carosi. Dia thought the idea was too soon, maybe just a couple more years at least, but Yashi believed he knew better. Carosi had done far too much damage to Adasia. He had just taken complete control of an entire Sarah years ago. The one time Yashi saw him in person, he almost died after being surrounded. That led to the middle of an island to be eviscerated. No, he didn't want another Alma event to happen. He didn't want Lark to run through each and every Sarah like a checklist. The fact that Lark took an entire Sarah just south of him, and there's practically no way to ensure their freedom. Who knew what else the sixth demon had in store? Emuna, on the other hand, only reevaluated their mentalities. Dia's age was public, but Yashi's wasn't. Neither had Yashi confirmed Emuna was his spawn, despite the public's usage of the term. There would be no way anyone would let Yashi take Dia if he had made his plan public. Not even the council, who tried to keep him in reality, would let Yashi go without at least due council's following. No more stalling, Yashi would say on 411. Now is the time to end this suffering over Adasia. And thus it began, the setup and the departure to Karosi's castle in Darko Meru.